Ever find yourself unable to quiet your mind? You're not alone. It's like this constant chatter, right? Thoughts swirling around, worries popping up, and that little voice inside your head just won't quit. We're bombarded with so much information these days, it's no wonder our minds are going haywire. But what if I told you there might be a way out? What if a lot of this mental chaos is just an illusion, a trick our minds are playing on us? We're going to explore some thought-provoking ideas that might just help you find some peace. We're going deep down the rabbit hole, man. We'll be questioning everything, challenging conventional thinking, and exploring some mind-bending concepts. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride. We're always told life is a struggle, a constant battle to overcome obstacles, but is it really? Think about it. When we're kids, life is just play, exploration, pure experience. It's only when we get older that we start imposing all these rules and expectations on ourselves. Society tells us we need to achieve certain things, acquire material possessions, and strive for some kind of external validation. We get caught up in this endless cycle of wanting, striving, and never quite feeling satisfied. But what if we're looking at it all wrong? What if life itself isn't a problem to be solved, but an experience to be fully lived? It's like we're trying to climb a mountain that doesn't exist, man. We exhaust ourselves chasing after some imaginary finish line, when the real journey is happening right here, right now. It's about learning to appreciate the present moment, even the messy, imperfect parts. Because when we can let go of the need to control everything, that's when we can truly start to find peace. This idea that we have to constantly be struggling, that life is just one big fight after another, it's a powerful illusion. It's like we're wired for this narrative of conflict and resolution, but what if it's all in our heads? Think about it. Our brains are hardwired for survival. Back in the day, our ancestors had to constantly be on guard against predators, famine, all sorts of threats. So our minds evolved to focus on the negative, to always be scanning for danger. But here's the thing, we're not living in those times anymore. Most of us aren't worried about being chased down by a saber-toothed tiger. Yet our brains are still stuck in that survival mode, constantly looking for something to worry about. We create problems where there are none. We blow things out of proportion. We get caught in these negative thought loops that just keep spinning and spinning. But the good news is we can rewire our brains. We can train ourselves to focus on the positive, to appreciate the good things in our lives. It takes practice, but it's totally doable. Let's get really meta for a second. What if I told you that most of the problems we stress about, the things that keep us up at night, aren't even real problems? I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. A lot of our problems are self-created. We worry about things that might happen, things that happened in the past, things that might never even happen at all. We build these elaborate scenarios in our heads, and then we suffer the consequences of those imagined realities. It's like we're living in a movie that we're constantly writing, directing, and starring in. And the worst part is, most of the time it's a really bad movie, full of drama, anxiety, and unnecessary conflict. But what if we just hit the pause button? What if we step back from the movie of our minds and just observe? Well, what would we see? We might realize that a lot of the things we're stressing about are just thoughts, not facts, and thoughts, unlike concrete objects, can be changed. Ever notice how your mind can get stuck in a rut? The same thoughts, the same worries, playing over and over again like a broken record. It's like we're trapped in a mental loop, unable to break free. This is what I call the trap of neurotic repetition. Our brains love patterns, and once they find a pattern they like, they tend to stick with it, even if that pattern is negative or unhelpful. It's like walking the same path every day, even if it's full of potholes and dead ends. We keep going back to the same thoughts, the same behaviors, even when they're not serving us. But why do we do this? Part of it is fear. Change can be scary, even if it's positive change. So we cling to what's familiar, even if it's causing us pain. The good news is we can break free from these neurotic loops. It takes conscious effort, but it's possible to rewire our brains to create new, healthier patterns of thought and behavior. Wake up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, repeat. Sound familiar? It's the daily grind, the hamster wheel of existence. We get so caught up in the routines of life that we forget to ask ourselves if this is what we really want. We start to feel trapped, like we're just going through the motions, living on autopilot. But how do we break free? How do we escape this vicious cycle? It starts with awareness. We have to be willing to acknowledge that we're not fulfilled, that we're craving something more. It's about questioning everything, challenging the status quo. What if we didn't have to live our lives on autopilot? What if we could create a life that was truly fulfilling, a life that was aligned with our values and passions? It's not easy, but it's possible. It takes courage to step outside of our comfort zones, to challenge the way we've always done things. But the rewards are worth it. We live in a culture obsessed with solutions. Got a problem? There's an app for that. But what if we're so busy chasing solutions that we've forgotten to ask ourselves if we're even solving the right problems? It's like we're putting band-aids on bullet wounds, man. We're trying to fix the symptoms without addressing the root cause. We're chasing after quick fixes when what we really need is a fundamental shift in perspective. What if the real problem isn't the problem itself, but our relationship to the problem? What if it's our thoughts about the problem, our beliefs about the problem, that are causing us the most suffering? Instead of trying to force a solution, what if we just sat with the problem for a while? What if we observed it with curiosity, without judgment? We might find that the problem isn't as solid as we thought it was, that it's constantly changing, evolving. And in that space of observation, we might just stumble upon a solution that we never could have imagined before. The ghosts that haunt our minds. We all have them, man. Those ghosts from the past, the memories that haunt us, the traumas that continue to shape our present. It's like carrying around this invisible baggage, weighing us down, holding us back. We try to bury these ghosts, to pretend they don't exist, but they always find a way to resurface, to sabotage our relationships, to keep us stuck in old patterns of behavior. The key is to confront our ghosts, to shine a light on the darkness. It's not about dwelling on the past, but about understanding how it's shaping our present. It's about acknowledging the pain, the hurt, the anger, and allowing ourselves to feel it fully. Because it's only through feeling it that we can begin to heal it. It's not easy work, but it's necessary work, because until we face our ghosts, they'll continue to haunt us, to keep us from living our lives to the fullest. We're told that the survival instinct is this primal force, this deep-seated drive to stay alive at all costs. But is it really? In today's world, where most of us aren't facing life or death situations on a daily basis, how much of our behavior is actually driven by the survival instinct? Sure, we still have basic needs like food, water, and shelter. But what about all the other stuff we chase after? The status symbols, the material possessions, the validation from others. Are those driven by a true need for survival, or are they something else entirely? I think a lot of what we call the survival instinct is actually fear masquerading as something else. Fear of not being good enough, fear of being alone, fear of missing out. We cling to these external things, these material possessions, these fleeting moments of pleasure, because they give us a temporary sense of security, a false sense of control. But true security, true freedom comes from within. It comes from facing our fears, from letting go of our attachments, from realizing that we are not our possessions, our achievements, or our social media following. We are constantly bombarded with this message that we need to find our purpose in life, that there's some grand plan out there just waiting for us to discover it. But what if purpose is just another illusion, another story we tell ourselves to make sense of this crazy thing called life? What if there's no grand plan, no preordained path? What if we're all just making it up as we go along? It's a scary thought for some people, but it's also incredibly liberating. Because if there's no right or wrong way to live, if there's no ultimate destination, then we're free to create our own meaning, to define our own purpose. We're free to experiment, to explore, to follow our curiosity wherever it leads. So instead of asking yourself, what's my purpose? Try asking yourself, what brings me joy? What makes me feel alive? What kind of impact do I want to make on the world? The answers to those questions will lead you to a much more fulfilling and authentic life than any preordained purpose ever could. We spend so much time lost in thought, analyzing, judging, overthinking. But what if the key to quieting the mind is to simply observe it without judgment? Think about it. When you're watching a movie, you don't judge the characters for their actions, do you? You just observe, you experience the story as it unfolds. What if we could approach our own minds in the same way? What if we could just observe our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them, without identifying with them? It's like watching clouds drift by in the sky. You don't try to control them, you don't judge them, you just observe them, and eventually they pass. The same is true of our thoughts. They arise, they linger for a while, and then they pass. But it's only when we stop clinging to them, when we stop identifying with them, that we can truly be free. So the next time your mind is racing, just take a step back and observe. Watch your thoughts come and go like waves on the ocean. And in that space of observation, you might just find the peace you've been searching for. Remember, sometimes the best way to quiet your mind is to simply observe it without judgment. Don't get caught up in the stories, the anxieties, the what-ifs. Just be present, man. Be here now. Life is too short to be constantly lost in thought, to be consumed by worries and anxieties. Embrace the present moment, even the messy, imperfect parts, because that's where life is truly happening. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights. And remember, question everything, stay curious, and keep exploring.